Hey everyone, it's Karen. It is absolutely freezing cold today. I am going to stay in and read the entire day. One book, one review was so kind and left the sweetest comment that just like made my day about how she likes like the energy in my videos or whatever. And like, thank you so much, right? But yesterday drained me. It was only a few hours hanging out with people. I loved every minute. But today I am definitely lower energy, not like externally, but more like I need to fill my introvert battery. And that is why I'm just staying in and reading this whole day, because I am going to have to be super social at work for an entire week. And yeah, I'm just not used to that. My introvert battery needs to be stretched a little bit. Anyway, my first book of today, and I hope there's more, is Are Prisons Obsolete by Angela Davis. This I read for my modern classics one, which I typically think of as fiction. However, this is obviously nonfiction, but it's just really well known, really popular book. I originally heard about it from Lukash's channel, so I'll link him below as well. Brian from Bookish had a really good point that everything in here has already been said before, and he basically said that it's not Angela Davis's fault that everything in here has already been said, but it's that people have used this work so much in any subsequent works, and so a lot in here you have heard before. However, that said, I underlined the crap out of this book. There is so much that it's not like it was new information for me, like as a whole. Like, I wasn't surprised, but there were like specific details and specific examples that I was like, seriously, like, oh my gosh. Basically, the summary, if you can summarize this book, because literally any sentence in here could be expanded upon. Basically, prisons are a way for us to keep any unwanted people away from all of us affluent white people in the world. So low-income people are targeted, any people of color, any kind of color, especially Black people, but any kind, people that belong to a non-Christian religion, like anybody who is other, is basically more likely to be in prison. And I think that some people that are not super liberal would be like, well, then they shouldn't commit a crime. But like, white people doing the exact same thing would not have the same result. Anyway, when I originally started this, I was underlining so much, and I just felt like it would be helpful for me to kind of walk you through some of the main points that I found in this book. However, I feel like that's something you can do on your own. You can read this book on your own. You know the premise, you know what to expect. But basically, the thing that stuck out to me that might be like different from my perspective maybe is this school to prison pipeline, which obviously I've heard about loads before, and I don't even think she used those words in this book. But it's just something I want to share with you as someone who is an educator, as something just to be aware of when you're sending your kids to school. So one of the things that was a big part of this book was just on how like we need to get rid of prisons. And the reason the way we need to get rid of prisons is by basically crowding them out with other services that are going to meet the needs of people, and either basically create a way for them to repair the harm that has been done, or create ways to prevent the harm that could be done if people had proper resources. And so it's not like just banishing prisons just straight from the start, but it's crowding them out by meeting the needs in other ways. And I'm also curious if that would work for defunding the police as well. But regardless, it made me think about her comments on how we can't even imagine a world without prisons. it's just something we can't do. Like, what do you do with those people? Like, it's foreign to us. And it made me think about how foreign it is for teachers to maybe be thinking about a world without suspension. What does that look like when you can't kick kids out of school for doing XYZ? And I think that's definitely the direction we're moving to in education. And I think it definitely, just like anything, needs to be treated with kind of nuance and common sense. So if there's the pendulum that like, oh, we're suspending all the time, and then we go to, oh, we're not suspending anyone. Well, wait, hold on. There are times when suspension is necessary. There are times when the safety of kids in a classroom is at risk, and that children need to be removed either through suspension or through like an in-school sort of situation. And I have been at schools that the pendulum swung way too far the other way, and my students in my classroom were physically, emotionally, so many ways unsafe because there wasn't a common sense aspect into the equation. So that's one thing I'll say, that kind of suspension in school kind of mirrors this idea of prison as kids grow up. The other thing I think it's really important for parents to consider, and one of the things I am super passionate about and super opinionated on in my teaching career, is not only the school to prison pipeline, which is the idea that basically schools in certain areas can prepare kids for prison based on how they treat them, but it's also the hidden curriculum. So the hidden curriculum is this article that was written by Jean Anion like in the 80s. So you would think like, oh, this is out of date, it's not relevant anymore, because you tend to want really recent research, and anything older than 10 years is like, just throw that away, you know? But this I think is super important. So basically what she did is she went into schools. She went into, I believe, 4 schools. I believe the first one was low income, second was middle income, the third was like more affluent, and then the fourth one was like the elite of the elite of the elite. And I think this was in America. I would have to go back and check. But the idea that she researched was the hidden curriculum. So not what kids, like, well, yeah, basically what kids do in school and how that shows where the teacher's mindset is and what the teacher is preparing them for. So what she noticed in the low income schools is that there was a lot of paper pencil work, and the emphasis was on following directions. Basically, the kids were being prepared for working in an assembly line, working at McDonald's, going to prison, where following directions is super important. And so I was thinking about this while I was reading, just in terms of a lesson that I have coming up. So I co-planned a lesson with a teacher that I'll be teaching with for math. And we are teaching kids just at the beginning of the year, just a review about the 4 operations in math. So multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. And what kind of words do we find that can clue us in as to like, oh, if you hear sum, you know, maybe you want to add, or in all means add, that sort of thing, okay? So if you are at a low income school, what that might look like is basically like a matching, like let's match like the plus sign to what word it connects to, or a multiple choice, or basically something that's paper, pencil, following directions. And if you got it wrong, you would be basically shamed. And I want to clarify that I do not always see this happening at low income schools. So these are stereotypes about what people have done in the past. I do think teachers have gone beyond this, and some of the highest quality teachers I have ever seen in my entire life teach at low income schools. So that being said, then middle income schools, they still did some kind of like rule following and discipline sort of things, but they were being prepared for like other careers. So there was more like collaboration and stuff like that. And like, I will be honest, when I planned this lesson without thinking of the hidden curriculum in my mind, even though it's usually in my mind, this was just a quick planning session. I will say that my lesson plan that we decided on probably falls into this middle income level. So while we're teaching this lesson, the teacher's going to be teaching it. The kids are taking notes, you know, which is very like, follow the rules, write down what I say, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to be adding to the lesson by having the kids do kinesthetic activities. So we're going to talk about how when you do addition, the number gets bigger, and we're going to like use our bodies to show like addition. I'm going to have them stand up, move, all this stuff. So as she's teaching, I'm adding in the bodily kinesthetic part. And then after we're done with addition and subtraction, then we're going to stand up, get out of our seats, and we're going to move. So around the room, I've already hidden, I hope they last until 1:30, which I think is when I teach this. I've hidden the words that are for addition and subtraction. The kids are going to have to work together as a team, so collaboration, because I'm breaking the class into two. They will have to find all the color coordinated like math terms for their team. They're going to have to work together to find them, and then work together to sort them into, if they fit into multiplication, or sorry, addition or subtraction. So it's basically the same as the worksheet, to be quite honest. And I'm just saying I should have been thinking about the hidden curriculum as I was planning this lesson. It's basically the same as a worksheet. It is a lot more fun, it involves movement, and it involves a level of trust that I know the kids can handle this, and also collaboration, which is a skill that is required in other jobs. Then in the more like upper middle class schools, they would rely more heavily on collaboration. Maybe we would extend the activity by them stating like, this is what I think and this is why. Maybe they would have to go to one side of the room if they think it's addition, or the other side if they think it's subtraction, and then they would have to like justify like, I think it's addition because some reminds me of blah, 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 right? They would have to defend. And so we would get into this like sticking up for yourself, and just that dialogue that you have, that would be more of an upper middle class thing that we should probably add in anyway, and maybe I will. And then the really, really high-end schools, they were all like basically preparing kids to be like CEOs of companies or whatever. So it was just very much student-led, very much collaboration and communication and independence, and all sorts of those skills. And so it's just something, I know I'm straying really far from this book, but the way your child is taught at school really helps prepare them for their future career. And it is interesting to think about your school. How are they preparing your child for your child's future? And so with my low income kids, I really try to include activities that are what the higher income kids would get in their school environments, because just because my kids come from a certain environment, I need to acknowledge that. I need to be aware of their income level, aware of their trauma, aware of all these things, but then use that to launch them to other skills that other kids have access to, and other kids have all these skills built into their day-to-day life, their interactions with their parents, their interactions with all the people in their lives, and my kids don't always have that. So that's just something to think about. Another thing to think about in your kids' school is discipline. How are your kids disciplined or dealt with when they make mistakes at school? So a higher income type of situation would be repairing harm. It would be more restorative practice, sort of, you know, led. There would be more communication and talking through it and figuring out what you could do next time and how you could repair the harm that the child caused. And then the lower income is more about punishing and like consequences and all these things. And there is a school that I worked at previously. My friend sent me a picture that was on their website. They have this thing where teachers snap pictures throughout the day and it goes to their social media accounts. All these kids were straight. Like their spine was straight, their posture was straight. They were standing straight in a line. They had bubbles in their mouth. And she showed me the picture and then commented school to prison pipeline. There is no point in your life as an adult where you need to stand in a straight line with a bubble in your mouth, right? Yes, people like get in line and queue for things. I know that's really important in the UK. It's important here too. But you're able to move your body. You're able to talk to people around you in line, or you used to be able to before people would just zone out on their phone. You would teach kids in a higher income situation about situational awareness, about looking around to see what the environment around them is like and responding accordingly. If you walk into a library at school where you see a lot of people studying, your voice level would be silent or whisper, and your body movements would be more calm. If you go into a library where there's a children's activity going on and everyone's talking or laughing, you would be able to go into a library and you wouldn't have to be silent and your body wouldn't have to be so still, because you would look at the situation and realize, oh, this is a children's activity. There are children who are laughing and playing and participating in something. I'm going to change my body accordingly. So there's not these rules. There's more an awareness for what's going on around you. And so I know that I strayed quite far from this, but this is just my 2 cents on the connection between schools and prisons, and just maybe something for parents to think about as far as how their child is taught and how their child is taught good manners and good behavior as well, or are they disciplined all the time? So anyway, I'm going to move on to another book, but that is Are Prisons Obsolete by Angela Davis. I haven't even had breakfast yet, so I'm having beans and rice. I'm making like a huge batch of beans with tomatoes and taco seasoning, and I'm just going to have it like throughout the week that I can add into stuff, salads, tacos, nachos, whatever. But today I'm just gonna have it over rice, so I'm making that. It's not breakfast food, but you know, it's the weekend. Okay, and then I thought I would check in on Shorty September and which prompts I have left. Okay, yesterday I read Colors of the Cage. I counted that as unreliable narrator, which is a huge stretch because it's not even a fiction book. The person telling the story is reliable, but a lot of other people didn't believe him, and specifically they were not reliable. Anyway, so I just put that there. And then after that, I needed a little bit of a break, so I read the kids book, Dragon Master. Not really different genres. There are loads of pictures in it. It's really just a kids book, and I needed a spot for it, so, you know, it's going there. And also maybe skirts. It's like, you know, is it shorts or is it a skirt? Well, is this a kid's book or did I enjoy it as an adult? You know, there you go. Then in kind of conversation with Colors of the Cage, I read Are Prisons Obsolete, which was my modern classic. And I think that is it. The next one I'm gonna read is going to be in good conversation with this one as well. So we kind of have the doot all the way up here. Bermuda Shorts translated, because Angela Davis, who wrote this one, wrote the foreword to the book I'm going to read next. Okay, one other thing I thought I would say about the hidden curriculum. So I shared this on my personal Facebook page. A few of you are friends with me, but mostly not. Anyway, the high school I went to school at has an amazing, amazing special education program. And I'm super glad that they had this opportunity. But basically, the post that I shared, which is amazing, and the whole point of me sharing it is that it is so amazing, is basically there's some special ed students that need more of like a life skills program. So their high school time is spent learning how to do laundry, learning how to cook for themselves, learning how to, you know, do all those sort of adulting type of skills that a lot of people need loads and loads of practice on, you know, filling out forms, stuff like that. Anyway, so obviously one part of adulting is cooking for yourself and taking care of like your meals and your whole kitchen and stuff like that. They just got this amazing kitchen installed in one of their classrooms. And so even though I was sharing it to just be like, wow, like I am so grateful that this was the high school I went to, that this is what's valued in the community I grew up, etc., etc. I also want to take a lens of like the hidden curriculum of this, and not only that, but like looking at like, okay, what type of cooking is this preparing kids for? What type of home is this imagining that these kids will live in when they're older? Like, what values does the physical kitchen show that this community values? And I'm just curious what you guys think. Personally, I think it looks like a kitchen that belongs in a luxury home, something I do not plan to get, not because one day I couldn't afford it, because I feel like maybe if I stopped buying books and saved up loads and loads and didn't travel, maybe I could. I like small, cozy places. But anyway, I think it just shows a lot about what our community is and what we value just by physically looking at this kitchen. So I will share a link below if you're curious to check it out. This is the book I'm going to read next. I had no idea it was signed. Granted, it's just a book plate, but still, that's kind of cool. I just had an entire conversation with myself when the button apparently did not like go and it was not recording. Okay, so I am reading this book, and what I said previously that you didn't hear because it wasn't recording is basically like, if this book does not give you empathy for the life of low-income people, the lives of low-income people, I don't know what will. I picked this book because I thought it had a beautiful cover, and I thought it would be cool if it involved a mystery. I didn't read the inside. Maybe it doesn't, because when I started it, it really was just a snapshot of a day in the life of two characters. I don't know. Oh, Lynette is the name of the main girl, and then her brother. And she's living in this house with, like, it sounds like a bunch of people, which is common. She wakes up because her brother is like grabbing on her foot. Well, her brother has pretty significant disabilities and is unable to care for himself. So she is basically his main caregiver, and she's trying to give him cues like, remember, you have to wait for the alarm and then you can come in here and say good morning to me. But anyway, he obviously didn't. So she's trying to get him to like brush his teeth, go get ready, blah, 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 go change your clothes, whatever, get ready for the day. Meanwhile, her mom is in the living room, lying on the couch. Like, she apparently sleeps on the couch, which a lot of my students do. Yeah, she is getting ready to go to work too. So they're both getting ready to go to work. Lynette has to take her brother with her to work. She works at a bakery, so they're up super early in the morning. He hangs out in the break room. She gives him her phone and she puts on a movie for him. And then she has to remind him, like, if he needs to go to the restroom, what the procedure is, that he'll find her and she will take him and blah, blah, because he's had accidents before. And then she's had to like hasn't had a change of clothes for him, and that's been a problem. Or she has had a change of clothes, but then there's time off work when you're trying to help him take care of that. She is working and takes care of him every hour by checking on him in the break room, seeing how he's doing, seeing if he needs to go to the bathroom, putting on another movie for him if needed, etc., etc. Then, like, during her real breaks, she will check on him for longer. There's a restaurant nearby or somebody's house, I'm not quite sure, that she will send him to, and she'll kind of watch him walk down the street to get there. And then she calls the person to say, like, hey, he's coming, and giving directions for, like, how he needs his breakfast and all this stuff. And then the person will text when he's leaving so that she can stand outside and wait for him to come back. All of this is while she should be working. And then her boss comes in closer to like a more reasonable hour, and then I don't even know if the boss knows about this arrangement. It sounds like not. And so at that point, her brother has to go out into the car for nap time. So he basically just lies down in the back seat and takes a nap while she finishes her shift. One other thing that was interesting in this part is that parking where she works is free until 8, and then after that you have to pay by the hour. This is something also that I think is similar a lot of places, and like, so she is paying to work because parking is not included, and how else do you get to work, especially if you live in a place without public transit. Anyway, after work is done for the day, she still has her brother with her. She's trying to better herself, and she goes to a community college. So she goes to her class. She has to take her brother with her. She's reminding him of the procedures and everything like a good teacher would. And he reminds him not to fart because apparently he farts really loud and everyone stares at him in class. So he starts farting really loud as soon as the lecture starts, and she asks him if he has to go to the bathroom, and he doesn't, but then a little bit later he kind of looks at her with a frantic expression like, gotta go. And so she brings him to the bathroom, but then, you know, she's kind of in there waiting for him, giving him prompts, all sorts of stuff. Meanwhile, the lecture is going on and she's missing most of it because she had to take her brother to the restroom because he's not independent. He can go in there and go by himself, but he needs a lot of prompts and reminders. And so it talks at the end of the chapter about how she studied really hard for a test, and when she gets it back, it was only 73%, and she's just really bummed because she worked so hard. And like, also for an upcoming test, like, how is she supposed to do well when she's working, taking care of her brother, going to class, and then like only halfway present at all of those things because she's taking care of her brother while they're going on? It's just like, oh my gosh, I don't know where this book is going, but I just think that so many times people are like, oh, well, they should, like, it's always they should, whatever. And I just don't think there's a level of empathy for, well, I can do XYZ, but I don't have all these other barriers in the way, and I have resources to help me navigate that. One thing actually in particular I was thinking of recently, I know I'm rambling, I thought of it this morning when I was in the shower. There are times, I will try to be kind of confidential, there are times in classrooms where you have students who will have lice all the time, the entire school year. It never gets treated. It gets treated, but they'll just shampoo the hair without combing. Or they will just do shampoo and combing but never clean the house. Or they'll cut it out of their hair without treating. And it's just like, I wish that there was a way for there to be education on how to take care of lice. Somebody that the kids could go to during the school day who would treat their head. And then 3, some sort of a cleaning service that was free for low-income families that would come in and treat the home. Because here's the situation. Let's say I get lice this year from one of my students. I've never had lice as an adult. I would take the day off from work. I would be paid because I have sick time. I would drive, which requires gas money and knowledge of where to drive to Grand Rapids, where there is a salon that will treat teachers for free. They do all the stuff at the salon. It's like a lice salon so that you don't have to do it yourself. Okay. Now for kids, you could go there too, but you would have to pay for it, and you would have to drive there, and you would have to know about it. Okay. Then I would spend the rest of my sick day, cleaning my home and taking care of all the stuff that would need to be treated in my apartment. It would be a hassle. It would be annoying. It would make me feel like grossed out and I would have the heebie-jeebies and just feel very unsettled, but I would be able to take care of it. But like, do you realize those steps, how much knowledge it takes of those procedures, how much money it takes, how much time it takes? So many resources involved in treating for head lice, and it's just like, it's just so heartbreaking, all the hoops that people have to jump through for different things in their life that people do not realize are even hoops to jump through. I just took a nap, which was 1, because it's Sunday and I can, and 2, because it's freezing in here. And I was really cozy warm under my blankets while I was reading, but I refused to shut the windows. And the other thing was, I just needed a break from this book. This book is amazing. It's really, really well done. It really like brings out all the feelings of frustration that you feel when you are either in a position of poverty, I would imagine, or 2, working with people and you just want them to do this and they won't do this. Basically what has happened, and I think I'll tell you because it's only a few chapters in. Like I said before, this girl lives with her brother and her mom. Her mom has kind of stopped taking care of her brother, which puts all the burden on, I always forget her name, on Lynette. Okay? Lynette's trying to get ahead. She's trying to do her best. She's in a bad situation. She's trying to get out of it. She has saved up enough for a down payment on a house. However, because of some choices she's made in the past, her credit is horrible and she's not going to be able to get a house unless her mom like signs for it and all this stuff. And this has been the plan for years. Basically, where they're living right now, it kind of sounds like a small house. They're renting it, and they're renting it for a very low amount of money. They have been renting it for around the same price for 11 years. In the area, there is no way they would be able to get a place that big for that amount, and even a smaller and more horrible place would be way more money. So they need this place. And basically the guy is selling it, and so their plan was to buy it. Well, then Lynette comes home from work one day and her mom has purchased a new car for like $36,000 a week before they planned to buy this house. Now, Lynette has the money for the down payment, but she needs her mom to like sign for it and all that stuff so that they'll allow her to buy the house. So she is livid. And her mom is like, well, maybe you need to find your own spot. Well, she can't find her own place because, as we just spoke about, she can't really get a place with her credit. And then her mom basically is like, well, why don't you just take your brother with you because blah, blah, blah. Or, no, I think Lynette says, if I leave, I'm taking my brother with me because you haven't taken care of him for years anyway. And it's just so frustrating because you just want Lynette and her brother to be in a good situation and things are just not going well. Dang. This book was good. It got so intense. Like I talked previously about how it was kind of triggering just because of things that I've experienced in my teaching career. And then it just turned into like, not like a murder mystery, but like a fast-paced action, insane situation sort of a thing. And then the ending ended with so much promise and also so much heartbreak in like equal measure. I really, really, really like this book. I don't want to say too much more just because I feel like anything else would probably be spoilers, but like, holy crap. And I feel like even though the middle was real fast paced, real crazy, I feel like it's probably real life too. I don't know. Okay. It is still downpouring. It's like 3:30. I think I'm going to post this video and then eat a little something, read some more. But anyway, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me on this like restore my introvert battery sort of a day. And I hope you guys have an amazing start to your week.